I'm also asking for the blessings and the continued support from the Tzolk'een and the Hunab, the one and only giver of movement and measure, the great central sun and black hole at the epicenter of the omniverse. I'm here to do your work, and I thank you so much for your continued support. Greetings, Earthlings. I am Crispy, a Gaian emissary of light, and I am another you. Today I'm very excited to give you the Mayan Embodiment astrology for Tata, grandfather, Don Alejandro Cerrillo Perez Oslaj, the 13th generation Q'imi Maya, Grand Elder of all living Maya. I think he's 93 now. And today, Monday, February 13th, 2023, is his Mayan birthday. He is tone 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, of the glyph that some traditions call death, but that only works if you are Mayan or if you completely grew up in a culture that understands that there is no death and that death actually means transformation, reincarnation. And that is why I call him, tone 5 is for empowering reincarnation. He is an empowering reincarnation. And all of us born on tone 5, I'm tone 7 by the way, tone 5, people are extremely strong in the throat chakra. And people who are born on the glyph of reincarnation are very strong in the crown chakra. So, what I always do for my clients and friends is combine words from the key code words of the glyph and the key code words of the tone, and I mix them together. And I usually do 3, but today, because Don Alejandro is tone 5, I will do 5 for each position. Core purpose of transformation, radiating humbleness, vital order of forgiveness. And now 2 more, as I see them through the lens of Mayan embodiment. Speaking one's mysterious truth and underworld inquiry. Inquiry into the underworld, the mysteries of the underworld. The 9 lords of death, you might say. To the Maya, they believe that the underworld, it's not hell like those Christians called it. It's the underworld, where the soul goes on that boat across the river of Xibalba to the underworld. And the 9 lords of death are actually playful. You can negotiate with them. They like to play games. It's not at all like what we've been taught that hell is. There's no devil, of course. And this glyph and the people born under it, I want you to picture a Mayan village, a Q'imi Mayan village in the upper highlands of Guatemala. 13th generation child is born on this day, empowering reincarnation, and this little baby they know is a reincarnation who has come back at this time to empower everyone. He was born at an age 93 years ago when none of this existed, and by this I mean the internet. Okay, obviously. He was destined to travel the world with the information of the Mayan prophecies and the Mayan Tree of Life calendar. He has done personal readings for untold numbers of people, one of whom I interviewed last night, Sean Caulfield, who went to Guatemala in 2010 and did 2 weeks of ceremony with Tata, grandfather, Don Alejandro. So that video will come in here in a few moments, but what I want to do quite quickly is talk about his 4 guides. I've given you his core self 5 phrases, and I have 5 phrases for each of his 4 guides. Now, for everyone born standing on the glyph of reincarnation, you count back 6 to find your divine masculine guide. Reincarnation is the 6th glyph. Counting back 6, you come to the 20th glyph. You take 6 steps, so you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 20. The 20th glyph is Ahau. And starting at tone 5, you go 4, 3, 1, 2, 13, 12. 12 Ahau. Understanding Ahau. Understanding Solar Chief. Understanding the Sun God is his divine masculine power, his right-hand man. It's prophetic. Now, here are the 5 high vibration phrases for understanding Solar Chief. Comprehending enlightenment. Architect of ascension. Ancestral completion. Cohesive leader. Authentic complex stability. Now, 2 people who have this same birthday are Albert Schweitzer and Ian Shell Lungold. Ian, as you may know, was the founder of Mayan Magics and one of the few modern people to fully understand the grand depths and full reaches of the cosmic Mayan calendar. Ian taught about the 9 levels of creation and the waves of time. He knew Dr. Carl Johann Kalemann's theories and applied them. So Don Alejandro's outer public face contains all of that energy. Now let's slide across the heart chakra. So being born on the 6th glyph, you count 6 steps forward, and that makes 12. The 12th glyph is the traveler. Starting from tone 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Tone 11 of the traveler glyph, tone 11 is called resolving. There are 2 people I have for this position. Tara Brach and Uri Geller. All right, so here are 5 high vibration phrases for this position. Problem-solving way-shower. Controlled chaos trailblazer. Vertical path pilgrimage. Neutral gratitude. And liberation quest. So first of all, I need to say that not everybody's divine feminine side is soft and gentle, okay? especially people who have a yellow glyph as their divine feminine, which is everyone who is white. All white glyphs have yellow for your divine masculine and divine feminine. Some of the yellow glyphs are rather intense, and tone 11 is the dot under the 2 bars, and it is intense. One word about neutral gratitude. Neutral gratitude means it's not effusive, and it's not, what's the opposite of that? It's completely balanced, giving gratitude. It's not because it needs to pay back people with gratitude, and it's not giving gratitude hoping to get something back. All right, as I see it. Now, if we are in the right-hand man of Ahau, we go 2 more steps back, and that is the obsidian mirror, obsidian knife. And from 12, 2 back is 10. So the 2 hands praying, 2 hands working together, shaking hands, making deals, 2 hands working, getting busy, picking up the wheelbarrow and moving it along in the past wisdom guide position called manifesting obsidian. 2 hands on the knife, or the sword of truth, you can even say. In this position, 2 extremely sharp people, John Major Jenkins and Nikola Tesla. Past wisdom guide. Some of the same vibration, okay? Here are 5 high vibration phrases. Co-creating healing, impeccable compassion, collaborative divine spark, middle path, focus, partnership in universal truth. Now, I don't think I need to remind you that when a baby is born into the Mayan culture, they know on the day that it's born those 4 positions. It adds so much. I call them guides, but it's really part of who Don Alejandro is. Your 4 guides are part of you. They are showing you what is in you. Okay, so his childhood, youth, adolescence up to age 13, all of those energies. Anything he learned from his ancestors 93 years ago. Now, from the resolving traveler, we go forward 2 more steps. Resolving is tone 11, so we go up to tone 13, the highest tone. And from the 12th glyph to the 14th, which is the Jaguar Shaman, transcending. Jaguar Shaman has always been his future vision guide, especially after the age of 52, 13, 13, 13, 13, 52. It was calling him all along. He literally became the transcending Jaguar Shaman when he received the staff of power as the grand elder of the Mayan people. 2 non-Mayan people who share that birthday are Sir Isaac Newton and Edgar Casey. All of that has been pulling him along into his future. And here are 5 high vibration phrases to help you understand what has been pulling him forward into his future. Shape-shifting mystic, mirroring divination, protected destiny, liberation of the prophecies, and psychic counselor. Now, mirroring divination comes because every shaman learns how to go into that trance and receive information by watching other shaman. A huge part of the shamanistic presence is mentorship. They teach other shaman. I can guarantee you, Tata Alejandro was taught by the highest level Mayan shaman. And psychic counselor, he did readings for so many people, one-on-one with his wife, Elizabeth, translating into English, just like in this video, which I am not sure is available anymore. You can see some clips of it here in the video I did for Dr. Kalaman's Mayan astrology. I am going to ask Dr. Kalaman if he will allow me to post the whole video on this channel, so we'll see how that goes. Now, without further ado, the interview. Okay, so Sean Caulfield, thank you so very much for joining me today on this special occasion of Tata Alejandro Cerrito Perez Oxlaj Mayan birthday. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Chris. It's a pleasure.
Now, I know you've been following the Tzolk'een for a long time, but when did you first hear about it?
Okay, I first heard about the Mayan calendar in about 2006 and realized that it wasn't the true Mayan calendar, it was the dream spell. Oh. And after about 6 months to 8 months or so, I came across the work of Q'imi, who was doing video presentations, and that was in 2007. And I realized that the Tzolk'een that drives the 9 levels of creation is different to the dream spell. So I thought to myself, this is, strange. And then that led me to learning about the true Tzolk'een. And so that's how I came across the true Tzolk'een.
Right, good. Now, you mentioned the 9 levels of creation. Is that part of Dr. Kalaman's theories?
That's correct, yes. I then, after watching this video, I was very, very intrigued with how it aligned to the evolution of consciousness, right. And that the Maya themselves worked with a calendar that was so synchronistic to the evolution of time. And so then I decided to buy the books of Dr. Kalaman. He's one book at a time, Solving the Greatest Mystery of Our Time, and Mayan Calendar and the Transformation of Consciousness, read them and then contacted Dr. Kalaman. And so from there, I got more and more intrigued. My consciousness was woken up more and more and more. And, it just was inevitable just to continue on this path. It just spoke to my heart.
Wonderful. And then how did that evolve into going to Guatemala?
Yes, yeah, and meeting Tata and
Elizabeth
and the elders. Yeah. I mean, it's Tata's birthday his Mayan spiritual birthday every 260 days. I think of him on this day, which is coming up tomorrow, because we actually recording this the day before, 5 Q'imi. So yeah, through Dr. Kalaman, I got wind of the tour, the pilgrimage tour that was happening in May of 2010. Okay. And it was also through the website Mayan Magics. That was where Ian Exlungold's work was brought to the surface as well. So thank you to Mayan Magics. And I journeyed over to Guatemala, and it was an incredible journey of discovery. And for me, it was so important to see and learn firsthand from the Maya elders what what was this all about? I think that there's a lot of distortion that happens when you see things via things. In this world, there's lots of distortions, but you realize that going to the source of something, you get to see the mirror of the true reality of it. And so that's why I went.
Now, before you went, did you know you were going to be meeting Tata Alejandro and Elizabeth?
No,
Oh, wow.
no. Okay, I did. No, I know. I knew I would be meeting him because I was part of the Shift of the Ages movie, The Ambassadors. So I was in South Africa, here following the whole movement and the build up to the release of the movie, and I was sent crystals, in fact, from Guatemala, from Elizabeth and Steve Copeland, who was part of the crew, and in fact the main person who did the directing of the movie for the Shift of the Ages. From my understanding, Tata and Elizabeth chose Steve to be the one to do this movie. He was chosen, and his heart was so open to doing the work. Thank you. And so I had that because this crystal in South Africa, and there was a connection to something there that really pulled me to go all that way from South Africa all the way up the stem of the roots, stem of the world tree to Europe, and then across to the west side, yes, to Guatemala. It was an incredible foot. And when I did the actual journey and going there, I actually did a little ceremony, and there was absolute certainty and indications that I had to do this. And I thought, oh my gosh, I have to go all this way. That it was
Right.
so beautiful. In the end of the day, it all worked out beautifully.
Oh, shoot, super. So you landed in Guatemala and then you went to
Yes.
Tikal, is that right?
Yes, so we landed in Guatemala City and we stayed the night there and met all the different people, about 18 people, 17 to 18 people, who all met. No one knew each other from what I understood. We all came from all different parts of the world. And we then flew to Tikal and met Tata. That
Oh,
was where we first met. Yeah,
right.
in Tikal with Elizabeth.
Right.
And it was, by the way, also Joseph Geoves who was working to organize this whole tour with Elizabeth and Tata. So he was the person I actually had to make contact with to request to be on the journey. It was Joseph Geoves.
I do not know Joseph. Now,
Yes.
let's ask you, what was your impression that first instant you saw Tata Alejandro?
But I'll be honest with you, I was quite nervous because he was so respected, and I thought to myself, I've just got to be on guard here. This person can see straight through you. He was, a wisdom keeper, older, and like you just sort of, but I did know that I was relishing the moment I could have a reading from him. So that was something that I did. And so I had about a half an hour to 45 minutes period with him, like one-on-one with him and Elizabeth, and he did my reading, and it was like so like on song and to point, with my soul, and really showing me that I was on the right path, and also showing me new things, because this is what the readings do. They show us the path, and if you're in your heart, then and the reading comes, it shows you that you're in your heart, and it also shows you where you're not. So this is really what was quite powerful. Yeah, and that was into Carl, and then, I mean, there's so many things that happened, but just all the people that were there, I'm still friends with them after all these years. This was 2010, now we're 2023. This is 13 years, almost 13 years later. And yeah, it's just Tata and Elizabeth are incredible,
So you had
beautiful people who
one-on-one.
actually, in my view, were listening to their heart to the degree where they were fulfilling the prophecy of time. Where the Western would come in union with the Maya timekeepers and start to understand the information.
Prophecy, right. Now, would this fall under the category of the prophecy of the condor and the eagle? I think that was mentioned in.
Yeah. There is a level of that involved in this, but it's also about prophetic time, in my view, because look, the ancient Maya worked with the prophetic calendars, the Tun, the 360-day calendar, and then after the invasion 500 years ago, went into hiding. From my understanding, I say this with all respects, they continued then with the 260-day calendar, and to this day. And it is understood that they don't work with the 360-day. So that combination of the 260-day and the 360-day actually is what Dr. Kellerman works with in his teachings of the 9-level Mayan calendar.
Okay, right. Yeah, myself, I really followed the Tzolk'een, the 260-day, more than anything. I do tune into the 365, the Hub, but even the
Yes.
Hub has different, if you call it New Year's Day, it had different New Year's days in different regions,
Yes.
so I don't tune in
Yeah.
too closely to that. And then
Yeah.
the 9 levels, the 9 waves, I only tune in from your Facebook posts, actually. So thank you for
Okay.
that.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Now,
Yeah.
so you had a one-on-one session with Tata Alejandro, and then
That's great.
your group, you all did some ceremony in Tikal,
Yes.
pyramids.
Yeah, we did. Yes, the first day, I think we all went and met at the pyramid of the Jaguar, the pyramid of the sun, the main big pyramid.
Super famous.
Beautiful. In the terraces there on the grass under a tree, we all sat there, and Tata shared some teachings and his experience there. And it's also incredible, and to think really that only in the early 90s, or maybe it was in the 80s, but early 90s, were the Maya themselves allowed back to the temple cities to do ceremony. And
Right.
so that this is from what I understand, so consciousness evolved to the state where it had to open itself to the Maya returning to their temple cities. And this is what my understanding of the 9 levels is all about, because it was all in terms of a schedule, a divine schedule that all unfolded. And then it opened up even further. At first, it was just the Maya doing the temple ceremonies there. Then it allowed, through the pilgrimages Tata and Elizabeth gave, they invited people from the West to come and join them. So there were a few ceremonies, a few pilgrimages, should I say, before our pilgrimage, which I believe may have been the last one that was in 2010. There were a few pilgrimages of Western people coming to Guatemala to do journeys with the Maya timekeepers and elders, and starting in Tikal and going throughout the different sacred places in the Maya lands. And it, I feel, was like part of something that needed to happen, to open doors for consciousness.
Right. My perspective on that time in history, the arrival of the Spaniards and everything that happened, I believe, despite all of the things we could list that seem so evil, what I believe is that it was all necessary to get us where we are
Yeah.
right here, right now. As you may know, I live in Hiroshima. I teach the grandchildren of some survivors, and as unbelievably horrible all acts of war are, somehow they had to happen for us to evolve. And so the only real solution is to forgive and to move on. And beautiful
Yes.
things are happening. I think the tours are starting up again, perhaps, Sean. I think there more Western people are starting to go back down. I think you mentioned your tour was like the last one before 2012, 2011, 2012, the actual shift. And I think there was a dry spell after that too. I don't think many tours happened,
Yeah.
legitimate
Yeah.
ones with Mayan elders.
Yeah.
But I think it's starting again. Have you picked up on that at all?
I haven't gone into it, no. Um, from what I understand, we did speak about doing more tours. Elizabeth spoke about doing more tours And everything I'm saying is from my understanding and what I remember, that there may be other elders that are actually doing tours. I'm not too sure at this stage.
Well,
You know, at the end of the day, it's going to happen. Things are going to open up. We're in a spell of time, a spell of time. We're in time at the moment where things are, in my view anyhow, since 2011, 12, catching up to themselves. So we've like ascended. And so we've reached this ascension point. Now we've gone through this period of ascending for the last 13 years, and we're starting to be fed light information that is waking us up to the roots and the primordial memory. And that memory is what we were seeded initially by, which wasn't able to come through until now. And so the more we were going through this birth canal, the more we were remembering the memory from the beginning. And that is actually triggering and activating us to anchor that memory in physical and give birth to something, so that we can birth a world that is in truth to itself, you know, and from the beginnings on an individual and a collective level.
Beautiful. Yeah, I feel there's so much truth to that. It is part of the evolution of consciousness. That's really, you know, if you want to be very simple, that's the only thing that's actually happening here. The evolution of consciousness. And it needed to go through all this darkness and lies for so long. And now, like you say, I think we're all waking up to higher degrees of truth. Part of that being our celestial origins, or at least our brothers and our
Yes.
you know, our galactic DNA, if you will. And I think one question I had for you, did Tata Alejandro talk about the Pleiades?
Yes. Tata did. In the questions to him, we asked him certain things, and it's like, if you don't ask the questions, you don't get the answer. So there were certain things that happened in our questions collectively in the group. He would speak to us in groups at stages through the whole pilgrimage, which was 2 weeks long. And he alluded to, from what I can remember, and it was probably about a half an hour long talk he gave about just the fact that there were these 4 beings of light that came to Earth to bring the codes of the calendars.
Right.
And so he was talking about them coming from the Pleiades. So this is incredible, you know, like when I was there and sitting with him, with everyone, I was like, wow, because I'm involved, I live in here in South Africa, and I'm involved with the Bushman elders, and I do ceremonies here, and they also talk about the Pleiades. So, you know, the wisdom keepers, the light beings of light that work with the Bushmen, actually are said to come from the Pleiades.
Wow, that's so incredible. I'm getting
Yes.
the hair standing up on my arm here again.
Yeah.
We are indeed in such beautiful times. So what else did I want to ask you here? Okay, so I heard one story somewhere that Don Alejandro, this was back when it was possibly like illegal for the Maya themselves to actually go in and do ceremony. I heard that he snuck in one night and stayed in the pyramids, maybe slept overnight in the pyramids. So I feel like he, and also even Hunab's men, you know, he was actually arrested for doing ceremonies in, I believe it was Chichen Itza. You know,
Wow.
he was taken out by the police for doing ceremony. So some of these elders have to be warriors, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I was there, I got this vibe from Tata, you know, of the authority he came with was just, it just gave you goosebumps. He knew what he was doing and talking about. He was so in the heart. He really got that sense, you know, and there were they small people, they're like 5'1", 5'2",
Yeah.
and they sit there and they stand in front of the fire, the fire ceremony, and they're working so sacredly with the calendars and the ceremonies, and it's so powerful. I mean, when we did the ceremony in the area that Tikal was, we didn't do it in front of the actual temple. We went to another pyramid temple and did a ceremony. It actually started to rain afterwards.
Okay.
It literally started to rain.
Yeah.
I mean, that was incredible sign. When it starts to rain after a ceremony, that you're connecting on a very incredible level with creation, and you actually are, in my view, evolving with the frequencies the way the source creator is asking you to evolve. This is what ceremony is about, when you're working with it in a very sacred way. And so, I mean, one of the things that he said about the 9 levels, that those 9 levels represented the time that we are in our mother's womb, the 9 months of gestation. So incredible to consider. So when you're born out of out of your mother's womb in the 9 levels of gestation, there are these 4 little terraces on top of the calendar, on top of the pyramid, and they represent your time from childhood to elderhood, which is 52 according to the Maya, and that's when you can actually join being one of the elders in the council of elders. Right. When you're 52, you qualify, and so
something he mentioned in this fantastic.
Yes, that's correct. Yes, and then what happens is, every 13 years you go through, so there's 4 stages. So it correlates with our Western understanding that at the age of 13 you become a teenager. Right. So actually there is a connection between the Mayan calendar and our daily life. Even in the Bible it talks about 7 days and 6 nights. In the, where does that come from? It actually comes from the 9 levels of creation, where each level is a period of 13 divisions of 7 days and 6 nights, alternately. So yeah, I mean, there's such a lot that's been distorted, and in my view, it's all part of evolution. People have done this partly unconsciously, but partly consciously, because of control. They know that when they can distort things, they can control you. So this is really where the Maya, they work with something in terms of their calendar that's so pure, it can't be distorted. It is what it is. Right. So this is the sort of lesson and understanding that I got from going to Guatemala and going to Tikal, and then we also went to Lake Atitlan and did ceremony on the shore there. And it was just magical, and all the people were magical. I'm still friends with all the people on this journey to this day.
That is so beautiful. Okay, the last question I will ask you is, did Don Alejandro talk about the dream spell?
Very briefly. We did ask him about it. He says no, he doesn't recognize it, and that was that.
That was it. Just
off. He was quick about it.
No debate, no discussion, just nope.
The Maya in Guatemala work with their calendar, and they know their calendar, and they do know what the dream spell is about, from what I understand, but they don't acknowledge it. And from my understanding, in fact, the cross that the dream spell works with comes from the Q'imi Maya, that understanding of the dream spell, but it's been distorted from my understanding.
Yeah, it was based on the Mayan calendar, but twisted and changed and distorted. So
yeah, yes. I mean, everything serves a purpose. Let's face it. But we've got to see at that point where we see that it has it's not in tune with what the truth is. We need to evaluate and make a decision. Are we going to continue being ignorant about this, or are we going to now change in some way?
Well, in a way, it got you interested, and the dream spell got you interested. And so thank you very much, dream spell. Thank you. Yes. Bye-bye.
Everything has a purpose and is a divine plan, and we we have to evolve. And I say thank you too.
Indeed. Yeah, it was wonderful. Okay, so I feel like we have completed our task here. Happy birthday, Don Alejandro, Tata, grandfather.
Birthday, Tata. I'm thinking of you, sending lots of love from Africa.
Does Tata mean father, by the way? Tata, is that
Grandfather.
grandfather?
Grandfather.
Wonderful. I think he's 90.
Yes, from what I understand.
Right. And he certainly is our grandfather of us all.
And also the other name that I heard that was given to him was Wandering Wolf.
Absolutely. I've heard that too. And oh yeah, I was going to ask you, do you have any idea how many countries they went to, Elizabeth and Wandering Wolf? I know they've been to Japan many.
I know they went on a trip to Europe. I do know that. I know they went to the States. I don't know if they went any further. Would have been lovely for them to have gone to Africa, but it hasn't happened. But yeah, so we're still hoping. You never know, especially if Elizabeth would love to come. We'd love to have her.
Yes, indeed. Okay, so again, thank you so much for joining me today. This was a wonderful chat. Happy birthday, happy Tzolk'een birthday, Tata, grandfather. I call him empowering reincarnation. So what a wonderful energy.
Thank you very much, Chris, for your work as well. Bringing the truth to the surface. It's so important, and all the honoring you do. And it is seen. Know that. Thank you.
Okay, my friend. Until next time. In Lak'esh. Alakin.
In Lak'esh. Kamagu. In Lak'esh. Oh.
Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed that. I certainly did. Did you notice I was wearing the same clothes? Yes, well. We are awakening to the truth that we have cosmic DNA. I highly recommend you read this book or other ones like it. And I highly recommend that you fully grok your Divine Mayan Tzolk'een birthday. I would be very honored to help you do that. There are plenty of websites that do that too. So, my friend, in Lak'esh, Alak'in, namaste.